The BBC presenter Jay Blades has been charged with engaging in controlling and coercive behaviour against his estranged wife.
What if the person who helped millions heal needed healing most of all? For years, Jay Blades was the calm, compassionate voice behind one of Britain's most beloved shows. The beginning starts quietly, almost too quietly, like there's a piece of the puzzle missing. You sense there's more beneath the surface? Why did Jay Blades really step back from the barn? Keep watching, because the truth hits harder than you might expect. The repair shop hit screens and instantly felt different. It wasn't flashy or celebrity-driven, it was tactile, heartfelt. Craftspeople gently coaxed new life from family heirlooms, and viewers tuned in to witness that magic. But over time, one face stood out. Jay. His laugh, his steady calm, the way he could talk to an old chair like it mattered. You didn't just watch him fix things, you watched him fix moments. Jay's rise wasn't scripted. Born Jason Blades in North London, he grew up surrounded by struggle. Dyslexia, racism, instability. You wouldn't guess that today. He was hesitant to even read well until he was in his 30s, but he learned to repair more than furniture. He learned to mend his life. That wasn't in the original footage, but it's essential to understanding why his story resonates so deeply. Before cameras ever rolled, he built secret worlds of transformation. He taught disadvantaged teens to restore chairs in a community charity he founded. He watched hope take hold as rough timber regained its shape. And so did the people working on it. That passion turned into reputation, and that reputation turned into opportunity when the repair shop invited him to bring his authenticity to television. As soon as he stepped into that barn, the energy changed. Viewers felt it too. Jay didn't walk in as a polished TV presenter. He walked in like someone who had carried the weight of his past and wanted to give something back. Hooked yet? It was that combo of vulnerability and craft. The promise of change. Jay anchored the show with sincerity. He didn't just introduce a restorer, he introduced the story behind the coat of arms plate, the wedding dress, the family clock. He treated each object like a living memory. His voice, low and steady, drove home that we watched the repair shop to mend more than wood. We watched to heal. His role, bridging guests and artisans, wasn't just a convenience, it became the emotional pulse of every episode. Under his calm exterior, though, life was shifting off camera. A personal storm was building. In June 2024, viewers noticed he'd stepped away from social media. No big public statement, just absence. But soon came rumors his uncle had been killed and his marriage was crumbling. When he returned, fans discovered he'd lost someone close and decided to enter therapy. When he spoke about it, it wasn't dramatic. It was honest. That vulnerability reinforced what we already sensed. Jay carries more than tools. He carries emotion, and that keeps us invested. And yet, amid that upheaval, he kept working. He remained the heart of the barn, uplifting both guests and viewers. We saw him piece together a World War II uniform for a guest whose grandfather had worn it in battle. When Jay gently handed over the restored jacket, that moment, a person seeing their history brought back, felt seismic. You probably felt a lump in your throat when he said nothing. He just let that object speak. Then came that episode with the piano. A family brought in a battered childhood instrument, and Jay dialed into every note of the emotional score. The way he looked at that piano, like it held ghost voices, was pure cinematic tension. When the first key rang out, smiles spread like dawn. That moment landed because he'd built emotional stakes first. Hooked yet again? Behind the scenes, Jay's impact is only deeper. In 2021, he was awarded an MBE, not for flashing cameras, but for services to craft. He became chancellor of a university in 2022, using his platform to uplift heritage craft. But then he resigned in September 2024. Observers assumed it was routine, but there was more. In late 2024, he was charged with controlling and coercive behavior relating to his marriage. He pled not guilty, and the case was adjourned until August 2025. That's not what the barn shows you. You'll want to know how that will affect his future and the show's image. This isn't just tabloid churn. It's a turning point that could reshape everything viewers believed was wholesome. You might be asking, is the repair shop still a feel-good safe space? The answer isn't simple, but Jay's return to screens shows he wants to contribute, to show healing is complicated. With the trial looming, he stepped back again earlier this year, but he hasn't disappeared entirely. And when he speaks out today, it's not to defend, but to share context and rebuild connection with fans who trusted him. Think about that contrast. On screen, he's reviving old furniture. Off screen, he's trying to repair his own reputation. That tension, that duality, you're compelled to follow. It feels almost scripted, but it's raw life. And it sets the perfect stage for part 2. More revelations, more challenges, and perhaps a moment where the repair shop is tested in a way it never has been before. But before we go there, there's more to what makes Jay so magnetic. He doesn't just repair, he educates. His books, published between 2021 and 2023, became instant bestsellers in the UK. They mix life advice with how-to guides, combining soulful reflection with practical guidance. His story about learning to read at 51, documented on BBC Radio 4, is another hook, proof that it's never too late to heal and grow. His social impact also grew alongside the show. In 2022, he co-founded the Black Fund charity alongside singer Lee Ann Pinnock, aiming to support underserved communities. That's more than celebrity advocacy. That's hands-on disruption. And he's been vice chair of the Heritage Crafts Association. That role gives him influence in a sector struggling to survive. Yet it also meant public scrutiny when his legal issues emerged. Here's a fact few fans know. He has 25 half-siblings, scattered across countries, part of the reason his childhood was fragmented. That revelation, shared in interviews this spring, reframed many moments of his life. His emphasis on chosen family, his drive for connection. When his grandmother's journey on the Empire Windrush was honored for Windrush Day in 2024, he spoke about the emotional legacy of Caribbean migrants rebuilding post-war Britain. That tribute paused hearts nationwide. As the show's popularity soared, Jay stayed true to the down-to-earth values that birthed his career: authenticity, humility, and unwavering kindness. That trust he built? It turned into devotion. Viewers saw him as more than a guide. He was a symbol of compassion and grit. Yet beneath that reassuring smile, pressure was mounting. And no one saw the first cracks until they shattered. His role wasn't confined to the screen. He became a mental health advocate, writing books like Making It and Life Lessons while touring communities to teach and uplift. His journey through hardship struck a chord. He narrated a descent that felt unpolished and raw, how he hit his lowest before rebuilding. That emotional arc wasn't a side note. It became central to the trust audiences placed in him. Then came the storm. What began as whispered unease erupted into headlines. Jay was facing serious charges. The accusations controlling and coercive behavior toward his estranged wife felt like a betrayal of the image fans clung to. Suddenly, this man who had restored hearts and heirlooms was at the center of a scandal, powerful enough to fracture public faith. The BBC responded swiftly. Primetime episodes were pulled, reruns shelved, live events canceled. Jay's name was scrubbed from promotions and upcoming projects. This was not just fallout, it was a collective retreat. And yet, even as the barn fell silent without him, the crew pressed on. The artisans kept working, compelled to preserve the ethos Jay helped build. A testament that the story was bigger than one person. Meanwhile, off-screen reports emerged of Jay hosting late-night DJ sessions online, almost as if to signal he was still present, still fighting to be heard. His socials went quiet beyond occasional updates, carefully crafted, emotionally neutral. That silence spoke volumes. Something was at stake far beyond career or reputation. The legal proceedings advanced, and in October 2024, Jay pled not guilty at Worcester Crown Court. He accepted the charge sheet but denied wrongdoing, and a trial was pushed back to August of 2025. That deadline hovers now like a spotlight over the entire saga. Each development keeps the audience glued, wondering how far the fall will go and whether forgiveness is possible. Meanwhile, Jay's background offers clues to how he might navigate this crisis. Born dyslexic and marginalized by systemic barriers, he learned late in life to read and fought tirelessly to uplift youth through furniture restoration charity Jay & Company. He became a national mental health voice after breaking down publicly and crediting a Wolverhampton family for his eventual healing. That emotional resilience, tiny piece by tiny piece, became the repair kit for his life, and perhaps now for his reputation. What sets this narrative apart isn't only the charges, it's how Jay responds. Instead of hiding, he re-entered the public sphere in June 2024, paying tribute to the Windrush generation on Instagram. He wrote poignantly about his grandmother's journey to Britain, tying personal history into collective memory. That post wasn't just PR, it was a reminder that Jay's story is woven into broader cultural threads. A follow-up message, "Getting there," landed like a small defiant step toward recovery. This paradox of vulnerable authenticity intersecting with legal strategy is the duality staking his next chapter. It's hard not to be hooked. The man who restored a grandmother's cassette radiogram, bringing tears to her eyes when Nat King Cole played again, now finds himself estranged from the studio and under legal scrutiny. Yet he's shown resilience before. In 2021, he earned an MBE for services to craft. In 2022, he became Buckinghamshire New University's first chancellor. And in 2024, he resigned from that role, the timing raising eyebrows. Each pivot, each pause tells a story. Behind the headlines is a man grappling with personal breakdown. His partner described herself as very broken when he was accused, and a public identity built around repair and hope. This tension propels the drama. Will the court vindicate him and allow redemption? Or will trust fracture beyond repair? We arrive at a cliffhanger. Jay has broken his silence once more, stating he'd rather talk about the show than the trial. That echoes the Barnes ethos. Focus on restoring, not relitigating. But reaching that safe space will require more than reassurance. He surprised everyone by refusing to hide. Instead of retreating into silence or bitterness, Jay chose to speak with warmth about the repair shop and its team, as if nothing had changed even though everything had. He described the barn not merely as a workplace, but as his chosen family, a place where kindness, creativity, and shared purpose came alive. He talked about the thrill of watching someone reunite with a cherished heirloom, seeing their eyes fill with memory and hope. That emotional pull became the thread weaving through his words and through our hearts. Behind the scenes, he highlighted the camaraderie with his fellow craftspeople, crediting their expertise for giving the show its soul. Even after being removed amid allegations, he didn't lash out. He offered gratitude. Grateful for the second chances the format had offered him, and for the friendships forged in that space. He said the show had mended him in ways he never expected, giving him support when he needed it most. That reaction stunned fans who'd anticipated anger or bitterness. Instead, they received grace and humility. His reflections revealed layers we'd never seen. He emphasized that the repair shop had always been more than about fixing objects. It was about preserving traditions, sharing craft with the next generation, and nurturing emotional resilience. That message resonated deeply, reminding many why they fell in love with the show in the first place. In the public aftermath, the reaction was complex. Some viewers felt betrayed and confused. Others drew a line between the man and the mission, focusing on the comfort the repair shop had brought during hard times. Online forums buzzed with debate. Had the anchor who guided us through nostalgia and renewal become a liability? Or could his honesty now serve as part of the healing itself? Meanwhile, the BBC and producers worked behind the curtain to keep the narrative alive. Episodes featuring other experts were pushed forward. Familiar faces like Will Kirk and Dominic Chinea stepped into larger roles, their craftsmanship and warmth offering continuity. Promotions began to spotlight them more prominently, a strategic pivot to preserve the heart of the show without its long-standing presenter. Jay, meanwhile, took the quieter route. He launched midnight online DJ streams offering sincerity and raw, unfiltered doses. No polished production here, just Jay being Jay. That shift hinted at a fresh chapter, one written on his own terms. He was no longer just the face on TV, he was an evolving voice in a quieter space. The case is winding its way through court. He pleaded not guilty in October 2024 at Worcester Crown Court, and the trial remains scheduled for August 2025. That looming date has placed an invisible tape measure around Jay's public future. Can he rebuild from here? That question fuels every new development. To understand how this might unfold, we can look back at his life. A man who learned to read at 51, who fought dyslexia and systemic barriers, who created a furniture restoration charity to uplift youth. He rose from hardship to national acclaim, earning an MBE in 2021 and the chancellorship of a university in 2022, stepping down in 2024 as storm clouds gathered. That same resilience once found in a battered chair may now be required to repair his own story, and the public is watching. Yet even as the repair shop moves forward and Jay Blades drifts into a more uncertain chapter, one thing remains clear: the story isn't over. If anything, this might be the beginning of a different kind of restoration, one not caught in the gentle hum of tools and timber, but in the far messier world of public perception, accountability, and identity. The court date looms on the horizon, casting a long shadow. But in the meantime, Jay's silence, and now his carefully chosen words, have offered an alternative narrative to the one written in headlines. He could have vanished. He could have raged. He did neither. Instead, his reappearance, low-key and without spectacle, brought a disarming humility. He acknowledged what the show gave him: structure, healing, community. And that's what made people pause. There's something powerful about watching a man own his journey, however complicated. No one expected a perfect apology or dramatic confession, but what they received was something perhaps more disarming: gratitude, memory, and reverence. That honesty changed the conversation. On social media, the tone shifted. Where there had been accusations and outrage, there was now a fragile thread of curiosity. What happens next? Could a person so closely tied to warmth and renewal somehow find that same space for himself? In a time where many public figures respond to controversy with defensiveness or denial, Jay's measured approach set him apart. He didn't try to rewrite the past. He simply added context, his context, and let the rest speak for itself. Meanwhile, the show itself, now in a transitional phase, leans heavily on the ethos Jay helped establish. Behind every repaired radio or revived teddy bear lies a story, and the team knows that the emotional resonance is what keeps viewers returning. The BBC appears determined to preserve this essence, even without Jay's presence. Producers are focusing on bringing in diverse experts and craftspeople from across the UK, not just to fill space, but to reinvigorate the format with fresh perspectives and stories that still tap into that deep well of nostalgia. But it's impossible to deny that a piece is missing. The visual rhythm of the repair shop has changed. Jay's signature narration, the way he gently teased out people's memories, is no longer there. And in its absence, fans are adjusting. The new version of the show is still beautiful, but it now carries a weight, a silence where once there was a steady, guiding voice. This feels like a final reckoning. Can a man who built a career around healing pick up the pieces of his own life? Will the BBC reinstate him if he's cleared? Will the repair shop remain a refuge, or will it take on a new identity without its emotional anchor? These are the questions we face as this closes, but the answers haven't come yet. And now let's shift focus slightly to a different celebrity, one whose trajectory offers sharp contrasts. Sean Jay-Z Carter. Once an underground rapper from Brooklyn, he transformed not only his music career, but the business of music. Today, he's a billionaire with a fleet of luxury cars past and present, from Rolls-Royces to Maybachs, rare Patek Philippe watches, and real estate spanning New York penthouses to Bel Air estates. He part-owns the Rocawear clothing line, has stakes in Tidal, Armand de Brignac Champagne, and a private jet. He's also invested in insurance policies protecting his interests, his music catalog, ski resorts, and athlete talent contracts. Jay-Z's financial playbook is deliberate. Diversify income, secure assets, and build legacy. His journey from street corners to boardrooms mirrors a lesson. Transformation requires vision, resilience, and timing. A clear model for reinvention. If his story moved you, share your thoughts below. Do you think redemption is still possible here? And if you're drawn to the untold truths behind iconic faces, make sure to subscribe.